Do you feel beautiful in your black? Your black skin. Colorism has been an issue forever. However, it is also an issue within black women. Now, I know that this is not relevant for everyone because colorism is not as huge of an issue, or at least widely spread or talked about anymore, since a lot of laws have been placed, such as the Crown Law, or natural hair. It has been more widely accepted. We see more darker complected women getting better roles in movies and TV shows, and in also the fashion industry. However, it is still an issue, especially for women of my age group, women who were growing up during the 70s and the 80s. I decided to do a video on this because I was reminded of this situation a while ago. I was in the presence of an older lady, and there were two children around, and one child is mixed with black and another race, and another child was just black. And the older lady's remarks kind of disturbed me because I hadn't thought about this in a long time. However, her statement was, the mixed child, oh, that child is cute, and had nothing to say about the other child. And it was said in a way so anybody who was in earshot could hear the implication that was implied. And it kind of made me think about, my experiences with this issue when I was a child. Now, when I was growing up, I grew up with a lot of cousins in a place where complexion, people judge you based on your complexion. As you can see, I'm of a darker hue. So a lot of my cousins were fair skinned, or are fair skinned and lighter than me. So and the crazy thing about it, with me looking back, the comments would come from older women. And when somebody is saying something but not really trying to say it, but you get what they're trying to imply. So they would always tell my other cousins, how beautiful they were, and how beautiful their hair was, blah blah blah. When it got to me, it was, oh, you're smart. Now, luckily for me, those kind of comments didn't ever make me feel ugly, because I was blessed to be surrounded by a lot of positive black men who constantly poured into me how beautiful I was. So I never felt ugly. However, I know for a lot of you that may not be the case. No judgment. I'm just sharing my own personal experience. However, so because of that, I didn't feel ugly, but I did always feel different. I always felt out of place. I always felt like an alien, and I didn't really connect to the two things until later on in life. Like in my late teenage years, early 20s, I began to make the connection of where that feeling first arose, and it was from those comments and constantly being compared to my other female cousins who were of a lighter hue. However, then I learned, after I grew up a little bit, that being different is actually a power. So I started to alchemize that and stand out in my power. But I wanted to do this video because of that comment, and I know that a lot of you, not just me, were affected by that, perhaps in your early development years, and maybe you don't realize how it still affects you now. Now, when I say, I take it back to a certain time period. That's just based on my personal experience. I'm not saying that it didn't exist long ago, because it did. We all have heard, or in case you haven't heard, about the paper bag test. If you don't know what the paper bag test is, look it up. I'm not going to spend time going into all of that. However, I'll take it back to when I was growing up and how it was within our community with between light-skinned women and dark-skinned women. Now, I don't know if you all are familiar with it. Well, I don't know if all of you are familiar with this, but some of you are familiar with this and know this all too well. The Spike Lee movie School Days is the best example that I can use. And in that movie, it was two sororities. One sorority was made up of light-skinned women, and the other sorority was made up of dark-skinned women. And they would be trading insults to one another based on their complexion. But they never realized that they actually were insulting themselves, because we all in the black community are made up of different skin hues. Like, I have a very dark skinned grandmother, and I have a very light skinned grandmother. So, but we're all still black. And it was just, it was important that Spike Lee highlighted that. And I'm not speaking for him like I know him personally, because I don't. But what I'm saying, what I took from it, he was highlighting the fact that this is an issue that we had to address. And being of a lighter hue does not necessarily guarantee anything. It's just the fact that your hue is lighter than mine. And that's all it is. And I had to come to the realization that my hue did not speak for me and my abilities or what I could qualify for. And I know a lot of women still battle with that. There is a huge number of black women who feel like they need to bleach their skin, which is absolutely insane. Your hue is who you are and how you were born with that, and you just need to learn to accept that. Another point I wanted to cover, like I said, I did not suffer from low self-esteem as far as not feeling beautiful based on those comments. However, this stigmatism can be a self-worth parasite, because for some of you, it has made you feel like you don't qualify or you're less than because you're darker. And I just want you to know that black is beautiful. That is not just a saying. It's beautiful because it comes in so many hues, and you should appreciate that fact and not feel like you need to compare yourself to lighter hued people. And another myth that is true and another myth that is untrue that has been perpetuated is that lighter hued women have it easier. This colorism stigmatism can also be damaging in the reverse. There are light-skinned women, especially those who may have grown up, around a majority of white people, let's just say that, or are even mixed, feel like, that they didn't fit in when they got around a whole black, when they got around an all black community. So it's not just about dark skin. However, that seems to be the most prominent issue with this situation. Now, this started from an external influence, from someone telling you that you weren't worthy because of your skin color and your skin tone. And unfortunately, it was indoctrinated so hard into some of our people that it perpetuated a certain view of people. And, when I thought back to my situation, most of the women making those comments about us were dark women. And I had to realize that that was an issue that was in them, that they felt about themselves, that had really nothing to do with us. But today, you need to know that you were told that black is worthless, because it's not. Your skin contains one of the most valuable substances that exist. It's called melanin. If you don't know about melanin, then do your research. I'm not going to go into a long dialogue about melanin, but you just need to know that that is the real reason why you were taught that your skin doesn't have value, because it does. Look it up. There are plenty other people on this platform that go into the worth of melanin. If you don't believe me, just do your research. I actually have a whole book about it. However, I digress. Black is this shiznit. Now, I know complexion is a lot of times associated with intelligence, being pretty. Like I said, having things easier. Pretty is a state of being. If you feel pretty from the inside, you are pretty on the outside. It's just as simple as that. It doesn't have anything to do with your skin color or your features that are tied to your skin color. So don't get lost in that fact and turn all the external noise down, because I've already unveiled the truth of why you were taught to hate your own hue. Being intelligent is a state of being. Either you are or you aren't. Everybody is not out here meant to be a genius. However, you are genius at some things that other people are not. So just identify your own individual qualities. But start to examine where you first heard those terms. Because I know when we were children, calling somebody black was a derogatory statement. It was an insult. You would get angry, especially if it came from a lighter hue person. I know at least where I grew up, that's how it was. It's important that you go back and identify where you first heard those derogatory statements and start to reverse that thinking, because black is the ish. If black wasn't the ish, why are we so duplicated? We're the most duplicated race. Don't ignore the real facts. Turn off what you've heard about being a darker person and start to look and see how many people imitate us, being naturally us. People wouldn't imitate something that was worthless. Now just be you. Being dark without explanation. I hear a lot of people say, the statement black excellence. Personally, I don't believe that's necessary. Being black is a luxury. Period. It is what it is. It needs no explanation. We are who we are. We are amazing people. And as women, we're going to have to learn to not define who we are and what we do based on the external things we see in magazines, movies, even on social media. It does not matter. That has nothing to do with you. Those are outer expressions of people. Most people that you don't even know personally. But even the people that you know personally still should not be able to tune your channel. That is your job. So deal with the fact that you are the hue that you are and love yourself anyway. And if you still are having issues with colorism, like I said, identify where you first start hearing those things. And then ask yourself, why is it still affecting you? Then identify where it's affecting you. Because things that happen in your childhood that aren't healed, or things that happen in your past that aren't healed, traumas, and somebody tying negative responses to the way you look is traumatizing for a lot of people. And it does affect the way you move and affect the way that you see yourself. Now it's time to take your power back and decide that your reflection is who you are meant to be, and start to love that person. Tell yourself in the mirror that you are your own kind of beautiful. I mean, even at first, if you don't even believe it, girl, just do so. And just keep in mind, if you have a harboring disdain for lighter skinned female, just know that she is uninformed that she's more special than you. Like if you have somebody in your past, there was an op that happened to be light skinned. Just know she's uninformed, and she's adopted a form of thinking that came from someone that doesn't look like you or her. And the fact that people, still perpetuate that, yes, shocked me, because like I said, I hadn't thought about it in a long time. But when I heard it, it made me realize that it still is a prevalent thing within our community, especially with women. Because this was a darker skinned woman who made the comment about a child. Like, a child cannot qualify to be cute unless they're light skinned with a certain, grade of hair. Which is just insane and ridiculous. But, after I thought about it, I stopped being angry and realized that was that was something that was indoctrinated in her as well. And I don't know her experiences growing up or what she was told about her dark skin. I just think it's important for us to have open dialogue about things that affect us and stop waiting for people outside of us to consider what we look like to be acceptable. That starts with you. You're going to have to accept yourself first of all. Then as a group, we have to accept each other. And then we have to learn to share our experiences and stop pretending to be perfect. That's why a lot of times I literally spill my guts in my videos, because I know being open and talking about these things have helped me heal from a lot of my traumas. And I'm telling you, it will do the same for you. But as long as you remain in the dark and keep these things a secret and try to act like nothing affects you, then you're going to continue to be internally affected. If you would like to talk about this more, just click the link in the description box. flygirlglitter.com. Your blueprint illuminated. That's all I'm going to say on this topic. Hopefully we can have a healthy dialogue and start to help a lot of you heal from this. In the meantime, stay clear.